So now that we just learned about primary sources, we're going to move on to secondary sources. Secondary sources are published accounts. They are called secondary sources because they are created after the primary sources and are often used to talk about primary sources in general. Secondary sources can give additional options, sometimes called biases. So maybe what they talk about isn't always right or true. On a past event or on a primary source. Secondary sources often have many copies. They can be found in libraries and schools. So can we go around and read the first bullet? Dan, would you start, please?
Analyzes and interprets primary sources.
Matt?
Second-hand account of a historical event.
Good job, and Bridget. So now you're going to take a minute and write your own definition for a secondary source on the lines provided on your VIP. You have 1 minute to do so.
1 minute. I can make anything up.
No, it has to be a definition of a secondary source.
How specific is it?
As specific as you need to make it, as long as you can remember what a secondary source is. Good job, Dan. $30 more seconds. Good job, Andrew.
Yeah.
Round it up, bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So now we're going to read over what generally makes a secondary source. So Andrew, can you read the first bullet at the bottom, please?
Created after an event, sometimes a long time after something happens.
Good job. Dan?
Often uses primary sources as examples.
Good job. And Matt? Gotta hold it down.
Expresses an opinion or an argument for a past event.
History textbook, historical movies, and bibliography.
So we can see this on your example of a textbook of the Holocaust. Can everyone please point at the picture of the Holocaust? Good job. So now we're going to move on to a quick game going over primary and secondary sources. I'm going to hand out 2 cards to each of you, and you're going to see whether or not they're either primary or secondary source.
You put out whatever.
No, we'll see.
Where am I? I didn't get any cards.
So take a minute to look at your 2 cards and think to yourself whether they are primary or secondary.
Oh, yeah, okay. Why did the both primary sources?
Well, that's fine. We'll say it. Okay, so Andrew, you're going to share your first card and say whether you think it's a primary or secondary source and why.
Give me a primary source right there, because it's getting by the person with his account.
Does everyone agree? Good job. So you're going to go tape it on the board. Bridget, go ahead next.
Letter would be a primary source.
Can you explain again why it would be a primary source?
Because the person writing it was actually there.
Good job. Does everyone agree?
I need a page.
We'll give them a minute. All right, Matt, go ahead and choose one.
Speech.
Speech, and what do you think that is, primary or secondary?
Primary.
Why do you feel that it's a primary? Does everyone agree? Good job. So go ahead. All right, Dan, pick one of yours.
Dictionary.
Dictionary, do you think that is primary or secondary?
I think that it's secondary.
And why would it be secondary?
Because it describes the words and diction in the language, and language is, well, clearly something that's been established already.
Does everyone agree? Yeah. All right, go ahead. Andrew, will you share your last one, please?
Photograph.
And what do you feel that is, primary or secondary?
I think it's primary.
And why would it be primary?
Because I took it.
You took it?
Yep.
And so does everyone agree? Yes, okay, you agree. Go ahead. Bridget?
Textbook because someone wrote it about something that didn't actually happen.
So is a textbook primary or secondary?
Secondary.
Secondary? Okay, and does everyone agree? Andrew, can you finish up, please? Thank you.
I think it's gonna go to the house.
I want to make sure it's right on the future.
Matt, can you share your last one, please?
Biography.
A biography, what do you think that is?
Secondary.
Secondary, and does everyone agree or disagree? Why would it be a secondary?
Because someone else wrote it about someone else's.
Then lastly,
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedia, and what do you feel that is?
I feel it's secondary
And why do you feel it's secondary?
because it's a compilation of events and things that happen.
I'm a big boy Wikipedia though.
Am I right?
You're-
Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Indubitably.
So before you go, I want to make sure that you all have your homework written down, and for your exit ticket today, you're going to need to write down an example of a primary and a secondary source. Or you can, yes,
Can there be examples on the board?
no, you have to make your own examples. Like a name of a book you know, or a different
So
example.
secondary is something I've seen something else do, right?
Yeah, it could be like a newspaper article. That doesn't. No, Andrew, that does not work.
Why? It's a second video though.
No,
is
but
this a
it
primary,
would, if
secondary?
you were writing about it, that would be
Technically, I
a
think that
secondary
works.
source.
I can make a book out of that.
Okay.
Excuse me, teacher. I think this works as a secondary, right? Technically, because it's a second-hand account
Yes.
of a first-hand action. Alright. Primary? Just watching him during the shower completely fine.
Good job, Matt. Thank you for doing the right thing and participating in a positive manner.
I did my primary.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct.
First-hand account of a person's life.
So one last reminder tonight for homework. Yeah. So for tonight's homework, you need to write a journal article or a diary in the day of your life. So it has to be over 2 paragraphs, which consists of 5 sentences each or more. And then you're going to take that journal article and convert it into your own secondary source by making a newspaper article.
You don't need me going to the gym?
You could write about that if you want.
Well, it's not very.
All right, so if you understand, touch your finger to your nose. Good job. Thank you.